Because these are things that could just keep me up at night and break my heart, and they have since I became aware of them. And I don't like just staring at a problem and thinking everything's wrong. There's got to be a solution. And for me, the solution is looking at a different way to access this very vital asset class, because there's nothing more concrete than food, clothing, and shelter. So shelter is the one that I think it's so basic to everyone. And it's so clear that our metaphors and our financial tools to access it and to leverage it for future generations, they're not adequate anymore. The 30-year fixed mortgage is a product that was made for the company man who got a job at the same time he got a house and a wife and a kid. And at the end of all that, when it came time to retire, his mortgage was paid. And that's just not anyone's reality anymore. So why do we have that product? So I think that tokenizing and using securitization and cryptocurrency is the new model for leveling that playing field and making this a wealthier, ecosystem for everyone. What it comes down to is I don't think it's that common to be looking at company and company creation through the lens of social impact at all times, which is kind of my way. So it's an impact company. And to make a social impact company, you're thinking about different metrics from the very beginning. It's one thing to say, I want to solve 1 billion people's problems because I want to make $1 billion. You'll look for any problem. It could be toenails. You don't care. You just want to solve it and make the money. But if you're looking to solve a problem that's a pain point that you've either experienced, I've been a tenant for many, many years. I've also been an investor and a homeowner. I've also been a landlord. So I've seen this ecology, this entire kind of ecosystem, and seen it from many angles. And I know how frustrating firsthand it can be. So I'm not looking to solve just any problem. And I know that it's not going to fulfill me to solve a problem about toenails. It's going to fulfill me to solve a problem about financial literacy and wealth redistribution. And to know that at least once I read about and found out the kind of disparities that exist, I didn't just sit around and solve toenails instead. I would like to see those problems solved, or at least take a stab at it. Is that now we have a cryptocurrency exchange, but this is going to be an exchange that's based in real estate assets. It's very specific. And those assets are going to be assets that have value because tenants live in them. So it's residential assets.
Okay.
That is an asset class that has a thing called a capitalization rate. That capitalization rate is based just on what happens in that building. In this building that I'm in right now, everybody pays their rent on time. And because they pay their rent on time, the person who owns this building makes, let's say for every dollar that they've put in, they get 5 cents back, $1.05 back, right? They have a 5% capitalization rate. Now through securitization and tokenization, everyone who buys a $1 worth of tokens in this building, for example, would get a nickel back, a dividend back. So we're a dividend producing coin. I know that the best way to do our process, our customer acquisition, is to start with the crypto world. There are already plenty of people that understand crypto. They're excited about an asset that backs a crypto coin, and that's a wonderful value to bring to that community. But there's a larger community out there that's not even learned about this, and that really needs more help in financial literacy anyway. And that's the tenant. People are tenants because they can't afford to be buyers. And that's because they can't qualify for lending. They don't come from enough money. They don't have the financial literacy. So to overcome that, to target just assets, real estate assets that have these tenants in them, we don't have to change their lives, but we can give them new options. And so it's starting by having people that are crypto investors on one side, interested in the coin for the coin's value, and then going after the people that already create the value of that coin because they live in the assets that we have. And then saying, you can get in on this too, and we will help you do it. It's a true Robin Hood company. It's something that I've been noodling on and trying to figure out for a very long time, because for me to have a meaningful life and work, I'm just not excited about making a lot of money for myself and then going and buying a Lamborghini. It just doesn't make me excited. And I know I can't take it with me when I die. But I know if I can go to sleep at night and know that what I'm doing is going to help this many people do something new that they never had the chance to do, which is build something for their children and be a homeowner in a new way. Also be able to move. So as our network grows, if somebody buys the coin and they're living in one of our Rise Network houses, they can move to another Rise Network house and continue to gain equity access that way. Or they can just buy Rise tokens on the open market. But as a tenant, because they are directly tied to the value of that asset, we should be incentivizing them and giving them a discount of their tokens. So even if it's just 1 penny off, it's a small discount that they get for paying their rent on time. change the course of our business. And so what that's led to, especially in the post-Kickstarter time that the SEC is now engaging in, they're really being, from what I can see, very responsive and engaged in the crypto space, especially in the asset-backed crypto space, because you can look at that through a securities lens and call it a security. You can also look at it through a commodities lens and call it a commodity, being that it's a brick and mortar asset. So there are so many definitions that have not even been made yet. And that leaves a conversation for the entrepreneurs, such as myself. It leaves the opportunity for that conversation open. I hate to sound too much like I never graduated from college or something, or never kind of graduated from my activist roots. But when I think about laws and regulations, I think they're there in place for good reasons, and they're there for philosophical reasons, to protect consumers from things that are dangerous. And that danger is really that it affects all of us, because the bedrock of what really gives us stability in our economy is not the people at the top, it's the bedrock of the people at the bottom. And every time we've had the bottom fall out for everyone, it's because we mess with the predictability of payments and the predictability of debt, or of engagement in the economy, whether it's through wages or through debt. That really shook the bedrock of our working people. And when the working people get shaken, there's not this extra, room to just go, oh, I made a bad decision, I'll just have to repair that. When the rubber hits the road for them, it's the end of the line. It's not something that it's just a part of their portfolio that maybe just needed to get it's a correction. It's a few percentage points. It's not like that. Yeah. And so when I think about where the bedrock of our economy really lies, it's in the working people. So if we can make sure that our regulations, as they adapt, aren't just that they're coming down from on high to make sure that the working person is somewhat protected, but if we know that already, as an impact company and as entrepreneurs ourselves, we can help steer those conversations, and not just in the direction of maximizing profit for the people in place, but really are maximizing risk, that we can externalize to the general population. But to really say, okay, what you're trying to do is make sure that we don't have A, B, and C catastrophes happen to our end users. We've already considered that, and we've maybe even reiterated what you've done or done it better, because they're dealing with, regulations that they've been these slow machinations over the course of many, many, many years. And we're these new entities in this space. So I'm excited about the opportunity to actually drive some of that policy, because if we understand that they're there for good reasons, I'm not here with some libertarian bent where I'm out to just say, I'm not connected to the rest of the world. That is complete bull. We are so interconnected, and we're forced to see it when we're in very dense places. Again, which is why I want to focus on multifamily housing, because you can't pretend that you're not connected to your neighbor when you share a wall with them, or you share a fence with them. And the further out into your own, into the brush or the ranch that you can get, you can discharge a firearm and no one's going to maybe even hear it. But if you do that in the city of New York, you're going to jail, because you could have hurt someone, because they're right next to you, and we're all connected. And that's a reality that's there philosophically, but I think the more dense our built environment is, the more we can come face to face with that psychologically and start to regard each other with the respect that we deserve.